The ones who didn't heal 100% of the time were all holding on to regrets or resentments, which is why forgiveness is such a massive part of healing, because that's when you're holding on to that negative energy and emotion, and you're just like in that victimhood where you're blaming this person that wronged you. And if that's in your body, it's lowering your frequency and disrupting your healing. So all of that to say, it's in the science, it's in the research, clinical data, that people who don't heal are holding on to negative emotion, and it's a necessary part of healing.
Greetings and welcome to the Dr Espen podcast. I am Espen. Today I am privileged to have a conversation with a person that has put together some works that I believe has truly changed the way we understand health and healing. Kelly Noonan Gores has been in the health game and in the consciousness game for many, many years. And today we're going to have a conversation revolving how we can improve our health, expand our consciousness, and take, as I say, our energy frequency and vibration to a whole new level. So let me start with the official introduction. I'm excited about where this can go today. Kelly Gores is an entrepreneur. She's a writer, director, and producer. She gained recognition for her award-winning documentary, Heal. They came out in 2017. I'm sure many of you would have seen that. Highlights these 9 different steps of health and healing that I honestly believe that without that, you're not going to be able to obtain optimal health. So we're going to talk a little bit about these principles today, and we're going to talk about some very simple, very inexpensive, yet remarkably powerful steps that you can take right now to improve the health and the overall well-being for you and for the whole family. So that Heal movie came out in 2017, and it explores the mind-body connection. This is very important, the mind-body connection, the psychosomatic aspect of our own health and well-being, and our body's natural capabilities to heal. All right. And then in 2019, she came out with the book Heal, and now she's got the podcast as well, which we'll talk a little bit about. Now, for Heal specifically, I remember I was watching this and I was saying to Kelly just before we jumped on, I was just covered in truth bumps watching this because I was really quite grateful that someone had put together a compilation of such amazing works. I mean, that included, from memory, we had Deepak Chopra, we had Bruce Lipton in there. We had a lot of experts around the world that came together. Marianne Williamson was in there and shared about their understanding of health. Kelly's born and raised in LA. She's been traveling all over the world, been in the industry of entertainment since she was 7 years old. She's on the Environmental and Sustainability Board at UCLA to help healing the planet. And the list goes on and on and on. Kelly, as I said, I'm excited to have this conversation. I want to say a special welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm doing well. I'm excited to hang out and chat.
Let's do it. Okay. So the topics we could discuss, spirituality, consciousness, healing, all that sort of stuff. I want to ask, firstly, what inspired you to get thought leaders in the so-called alternative medicine, holistic medicine field together, and not just some of them, but I think Dr. Michael Beckwith was in there. You got some of the leading experts in the world in this field together in this movie, Heal. What inspired you to put together that?
Yeah, it's a lifelong journey. So there's no one aha that made me go, I need to make this film. But ultimately, all of the teachers in the film empowered me to understand that we have way more power over our health and our lives than we've kind of been led to believe. And I don't think there's any sinister force that's leading us down the wrong path, but just the way society and systems have evolved kind of, we give our power away. And so when I started learning about quantum physics and energy and law of attraction and, just deepening my spiritual understanding, and I just was like, oh my gosh, everybody needs to know this. And then I read The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton, which explores epigenetics, which basically tells us that our genes are just a blueprint, our DNA, a blueprint of potentials, and then our environment and our perception of the environment, which means our subconscious programming beliefs, color the lens and actually toggle on and off genes. So we have That's kind of like in spiritual terms, in scientific terms, free will, that we can choose whether we want to turn on the good genes or the bad genes, et cetera. So when I learned that, I was like, oh my gosh, everybody needs to know this. And I essentially, people would come up to me and say, why are you so happy? How are you manifesting all this stuff? What do you eat? What do you do? What's your workout? And I was like, I've just got to put all my teachers that empowered me into a film. And so became Heal.
And there we are. So ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen Heal, I think it's on Netflix as well. Kelly, is that correct?
It was on Netflix for 2 years. We've been on Amazon Prime now for a couple of years. So
Yeah. The Amazon Prime comes out with big budgets, don't they? Okay, so jump on Amazon Prime and watch the movie Heal. And as I did many, many years ago, I think this was 2019, I watched it and I was like, yes. And I kind of did an audit of my personal life. If we talk about nutrition, herbs and spices, we talk about emotional healing, which I'd like to talk to in a moment. I've specialized in clearing emotional blockages and how that has affected the body. So I want to get into that. But I basically used the documentary not only as inspiration, but also as a checklist. And I went through and I audited my life and I looked at it and I thought, and I asked myself, where am I not in full, potential with these different topics? And it actually gave me a really good blueprint to take my energy to the next level. So I'd like to talk a little bit about this healing aspect, because I know that you're really big on this and I've also specialized in this, and I'd love your take on it. We talk about stress, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, and chemical stress. But as we know, it's one of the few, if not the only thing that's related to every single chronic disease that we can see. So if we understand stress from today's aspect, most people are living in fight or flight. How bad and or dangerous is it really for us to live in fight or flight?
Yeah, it's detrimental to our health and vitality and longevity, ultimately, because we are, just to take it down to very rudimentary terms, our nervous system is either in fight or flight, which is meant to make us superhuman to either hunt for our food or, fight, flee for our lives. So it's this, stress response that makes us very strong, focused, energized, but it's only meant to be turned on for that survival period of either escaping a predator or an enemy, or going after our food. So it's a survival thing. Back in the day, it's turned on for a short period of time so we can, survive. And then it's meant to be turned off. And the other side of that is the parasympathetic nervous system response. And that's when we're resting, we're basically healing, resting, rejuvenating, and restoring all of our body systems. So if we are in fight or flight chronically, which is what is happening in the state of the world with the inundation of a 24-hour news cycle, we have not evolved quickly enough to keep up with this inundation with information, most of it negative and fear-inducing, fear-inciting, stressful, and violent and just dark. We haven't evolved to be able to process that amount of information. So that's putting us in these kind of chronic stress response cycles, which just in a very logical sense, we cannot rest and repair and do all these things that our body needs to do to process the toxins in our environment, to rest and repair, and to do all the things that it was designed to do. And that's what's hindering. That's what's, one of the main issues of why we have this chronic illness epidemic. Yes, there's toxins. Yes, there's all sorts of, bad food and processed food and all these things that are contributing to that. But at the very minimum, if we're not able to rest and repair, we're going down with the ship. And so that's stress is everything. I mean, it's really the basis of why we're all so chronically ill today.
It's interesting you should mention that, because I've had the privilege of owning 10 multidisciplinary health clinics and hiring and recruiting and managing a lot of different, chiropractors, naturopaths, medical doctors, and dentists over the years. And if we were to really survey all of our patients and ask what is the core problem, what is it that links everyone together in terms of pathology and disease, it would definitely be stress. Yet it seems that many people are their own worst enemy. We tend to be on the treadmill of life and in the rat race and not stop until we either, one, get that this is actually very detrimental, or two, we have a scare, a health scare or something. So just urging those out there to kind of tune in to where your nervous system might be at right now. Are you in fight or flight? I mean, speaking from experience, I've had adrenal fatigue and burnout 3 times as an entrepreneur, trying to, get to that next stage or whatever. And it is remarkably painful. And it's better to take charge on your health and well-being now. And I know, Kelly, you've been a vivid meditator and practicer of these tools for many years. So just for everyone watching and listening, what is your relationship to stress? How are you mastering your life, your emotions, and your stress levels by taking time out, nurturing yourself, eating clean, meditating, journaling, praying, whatever it is that you're doing? So I'd love to give you little tips and tools and accountability measures throughout the podcast so you can just right away take control on your health. Kelly, you know what? Something that you've spoken about that I really love your opinion on, and we're going to get to the whole expansion of consciousness conversation soon. I'm just itching and excited. But before we do, I want to talk about emotions. Okay, this is so big. In the movie Heal, and it's not the only work that you've done. I love it. And by the way, we'll talk about Kelly's podcast soon. You got to go check out this podcast, and you obviously got to go watch the movie as well. But in the movie Heal, there's a specific link, and you talk about negative emotions and unresolved trauma. I call them issues in the tissues. From your experience, can you tell me what effect does negative emotions and unresolved trauma have on both, one, our health, and two, our quality of life, please?
I mean, it all ties back to stress. So if we have, a lot of us are not given the tools to process trauma and deep pain in the moment. So what we do, our body goes into shock and kind of we repress and suppress that intense emotion. It's the feeling, the energy of the feeling is too painful, too terrifying. You know, whatever that trauma was that occurred, we don't have the capacity to process it in the moment. So that energy gets stored somewhere in the body, and that disrupts flow, that disrupts life force, energy, chi, whether it's the chakra system or traditional Chinese medicine, all of these ancient wisdom, it all goes back to the same thing. It's a blockage of energy in the body. So it gets stored in, your issues really do get stored in the tissues, which then blocks energy. When you don't have that energy flow and vitality, you know, things manifest into dis-ease and physical. The physical is always the last place that it will show up and express. So I always go back, and I love, you know, because I'm very spiritual, I'm very woo-woo, but you've got to be based in science. And I think that we're at a time in history where spirituality is kind of being demonstrated and proven through science. So it's very exciting. In the film, there's a researcher named Dr. Kelly Turner who her research is specifically tied to cancer, which has a, you know, very like clear emotional root many of the times. And there's, you know, over 200 causes of cancer. Cancer is a very complex chronic disease. But she researched all of like 1,500 cases of spontaneous healing, of radical remission. Because when they were she was doing her research, she was like, wait, these like anomalies that they just keep tossing to the side of these people that healed were sent home to die. And then all of a sudden they're not dead 20 years later from, they had pancreatic cancer, all these incurable cancers. She's like, we should be studying them. We shouldn't be discounting them as anomalies. We should be studying what they did. So she studied 1,500 cases and found out that all of these people who were sent home to die of terminal, air quotes, incurable cancer, all did 9 things. This was at the point when the film came out. Now she added movement because she went back and looked at her research, and they all did some sort of movement. Most of it was like walking, but it was like walking or yoga. So there's movement in there. So the other 9 things, 2 of them were physical, which is radically changing your diet and using herbs and supplements. And the other 7 were mental, emotional, and spiritual. And
that blew me away, Kelly. When I saw the movie, I'm like, I'm expecting the nutrition and a bit of movement and a bit of that. And I'm like, 2 out of 9 is physical. Yeah. And I remember I wrote it down and I'm like, what is going on? And now we get to go deep. So back to you. This is exciting.
Yeah. And you're an energy guy. So you get this. Like, it's so much easier to shift the energy than to shift the matter. And the matter is the diet and the herbs and supplements. And the movement obviously shifts energy too. But so one of them is clearing and releasing negative emotions. One of them is increasing positive emotions. So emotions, again, is energy and motion. It's feeling, it's energy. So she just learned that they all did some form of trauma healing and forgiveness. And another expert in the film, Joan Borisenko, all of these experts have been doing this kind of holistic approach to healing. And holistic is not woo-woo. Holistic is looking at the body as a whole system and not just like attacking, one area and not realizing that it's connected to all the other systems of the body. So like you give a pill for organ or system A, there's going to be a downward consequence. It's going to throw off the other system. So it's like you have to look at the human body as a whole system and everything's, interconnected. So anyways, all of that to say, Joan Borisenko said she was running since the early 80s, a holistic cancer clinic. And she said the ones who didn't heal 100% of the time were all holding on to regrets or resentments, which is why forgiveness is such a massive part of healing, because that's when you're holding on to that negative energy and emotion, and you're just like in that victimhood where you're blaming this person that wronged you, and you're just, if that's in your body, it's lowering your frequency and disrupting your healing. So all of that to say, it's in the science, it's in the research, clinical data, that people who don't heal are holding on to negative emotion, and it's a necessary part of healing.
Whew, I feel this is a mic drop moment. I just want to take this opportunity to kind of let listeners and viewers kind of tune into that. What are you holding on to? What resentment, judgment, bitterness, regret, guilt, shame, anger are you holding on to? And the old expression, I think it's pertinent here, being angry and or experiencing these emotions is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to be affected by it. There are methods, there are tools, there are amazing resources such as Kelly's work and Heal and her podcast and some of the work that I do that can actually help you with this. They can actually help you take a good look in the mirror and realize that, as I teach, life never happened to you, it always happened for you. So I want to share a hypothesis with you, Kelly, because this is just mind-boggling. I graduated 2009 and retired 2016. I was burnt out. I was unhappy. I was very corporately successful, but I was sick. And I would say mostly emotionally sick because I had not taken or given myself the opportunity to heal the unresolved trauma in my body and in my mind from childhood. My brother passed away. My sister was disabled, and that was difficult. Both my parents are alcoholics, and so on and so forth. And so I realized then that, hang on, so much of how we experience life is unconscious or subconscious. And so I did what some people would do. I just retired from clinical practice. I had a lot of money. I went to Peru. I started drinking ayahuasca and some other things. It's been a very interesting journey since. My point being, I remember once I was sitting in the jungle in Peru, and I experienced this blue light, this color around my throat. And when I tuned into my life, I realized that there were some things in my life that I wasn't resonating with anymore. There were people that I wasn't right for me to be in a relationship with. There were things that I had been doing that wasn't right for me anymore. And then as I started to study this to understand myself, I came about an ancient blueprint from the Indian lineage and the Bhagavad Gita and the yogic traditions that showed that certain emotions block the different energy centers or the chakras. And at the time I was I had 3 degrees in science, and I looked at it and I thought, this is a bit woo-woo, isn't it? But because I had some experience in yoga and my intuition pulled me, and I know you're big on intuition, I started researching this. And then I realized that fear, and this is, again, the blueprint, I didn't discover this, I just kind of put the pieces together. Fear blocks the root energy center, the first chakra. Guilt blocks the second. Shame blocks the third. Grief blocks the fourth. Lies block the fifth, and so on and so forth. So I thought to myself, what if there's something in this? So what I did is I wrote a curriculum. It's called Quantum Advanced. And it takes 3 days, and we go through the clearing process. And what we do is we help people identify their primary fear, their greatest fear, and then turn it into something productive, from fear to fuel. And then we go through guilt, and we can clear guilt. We go through shame, and we can clear shame. And what happens over time is that there is this change of how we hold our internal energy. And I have to agree with what you said before, because then our students and the people going through this, they don't feel like drinking alcohol or eating crap food because they feel so great. And often what we realize is that these vices, these addictions come from not feeling good. So I want to ask you firstly, have you what's your understanding? Let's go a little bit deeper into energy centers, chakras, and emotional imbalances as such, and your, I guess, experience and the effects on the body specifically. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I totally, I've never heard the emotional blocks like you've put them. So I'm like, I need to go through your 3-day program. There's all sorts of healing in my chart, which is not shocking, right? But I didn't know that before I did heal.
Uh-huh.
All I know is that I seek truth. I want to understand, I have this like insatiable desire to understand the way things work. So I've done every like healing, modality, and I continue to find things, and then I experience them and I share them so that other people can, find. But, I recently did a plant medicine journey, and there was this, and the woman, the shaman, took me through this like mirror work, and I like went through, and this wasn't what she was, intending, but the experience that I had is I looked and saw in the mirror me between the ages of like 12 and 14. And I had like completely disconnected at that time from this part of me, and I'm like, and I'm like thinking, like, was there something traumatic that happened that caused this disassociation or this disconnect? But anyways, the amount of healing that occurred by just witnessing, and it was something I wasn't conscious of, but there was just this like point in my life where I just kind of disconnected with a part of myself. And so in that time, I reconnected to myself, and like the amount of energy I have since that moment, it was like, there's just so many things that happen in our life that disconnect us, and I'm not being very articulate, but as you're talking about the chakras, like there's blocks, there's fragments. And for me, it's just like all healing is wholeness. It's coming back to your whole self. And so, it's energy, it's trauma, it's, and it's something that we do on our own, but sometimes we need these facilitators and these, exogenous, experiences that can reflect back where we've just kind of disconnected from ourselves, if that makes sense. And so, yeah.
I think this is an important point because, if you, and I say this to my students sometimes, imagine this, you go online to your, AI tool or just Google or whatever, and you look up what percentage of my atoms are made up of empty space. And the answer, scientifically proven, since Max Planck won the Nobel Prize for this over 100 years ago, is 99+% empty space. So we are made up of 99% pure untapped energy potential. So the fact that we're playing at this very surface level of healing equals physical means that we're playing with less than 1% of our true healing potential, just scientifically proven. So I just want to point out what Kelly is speaking about here is not woo-woo. This is actual science. It may feel woo-woo, and it certainly did to me many years ago, but this journey has been one of the greatest discoveries of my life. And so I want to go a little bit deeper into this because now we're talking about understanding energy and consciousness, understanding who we really are. And I think a useful tool that I've shared with my students is asking the question, who am I in the first place? And so then most people would say, I am energy, I am consciousness, I am matter, I am spirit, I am source, whatever. And we know that scientifically true. And so then it's not just that we are the body or the mind, we are the observers of the body and the mind. And as such, then we can change anything within that realm. This puts the power back in our reality. And often, students, if they say that they go through a healing, let's say that we talk about regret, like Kelly brought up before, and we have regret because we hurt someone or we lied to someone or someone deceived us or hurt us. If we hold on to that, we know that we're going to get sick. All right. We heard the results from Dr. Turner's work earlier with the psychosomatic aspect of this. But I think when people, when we give ourselves permission to remember who we are, as in I am consciousness, then life didn't happen to us. It happened for us. We are experiencing this reality. We are not the sickness. We are experiencing signs and symptoms of disease. That doesn't mean we are sick. There's a very big difference. Okay. So I just wanted to put that out there because if you know who you are, as in I am, consciousness, well, you have every tool in the entire toolbox to change your life. How exciting. Okay, Kelly, let's talk consciousness. It's interesting. I mean, we've been through COVID. We've been through a lot of crazy things. And I think that the darker the dark, the brighter the light. What are your thoughts on the expansion and the evolution of human consciousness? What's happening now on a collective level?
I believe we're like experiencing a breakdown before a breakthrough, if that makes sense. So it feels like there is an energy. I don't, there's the age of Aquarius that we're stepping into. There's the
Let's go there.
frequency of the earth. Like all of, yeah, it's like I'm feeling all of it. I'm witnessing all of it, and systems are breaking down. There's a lot of inflammation in society, in the global collective, right? So and the way we're treating the planet, like all of these systems and our mentality and our kind of rabid consumption is, it's not, none of this is sustainable. So to me, I believe, like you said, the darker the dark, the lighter the light. I believe in physics. It's like there's an equal and opposite reaction in spirituality. So as much as and it's been throughout time and throughout history. So, when there's this kind of negative bend to what we're experiencing and witnessing, there's also just this equal and opposite. It's just, that's how the cosmos stay in balance, right? I don't know if I'm making any sense, but to me, it just feels like I'm watching a bad movie, but with all that I've learned, I can remove myself. And as I'm sitting in the mountains in Aspen, Colorado, and like, there is so much beauty still happening in the world, and in like nature just self-corrects. We are part of nature. So as I just encourage everybody to just kind of keep pulling back perspective, keep opening the aperture. It's so easy to get hooked, especially with social media and everything else, into the negative. But if we can just like breathe and pull back, and it's a fine balance. You want to be engaged. You want to be an activist for things that are not just and things that are wrong in the world that you're passionate about. However, also it's like, it's on us to be happy and present and grateful. There's so much to be grateful for. There's like, so it's fun, it's on that individual level. We're all healing, like your podcast, your work, my work. It's that equal and opposite for all the shit that's breaking down in the world and the systems and the corrupt politicians and, pandemics and whatever. Like, there's also so much beauty. And truly, even though it seems super gnarly what's going on in the state of the world, like we're like very blessed as a generation, meaning technology. Like there's wars, there's suffering, there's awful, horrific things that happen every day. But compared to like medieval times and to, like we're in the Great Depression, like we're doing okay, so we just have to continue to, be the change you wish to see in the world is probably one of the wisest things that you could do. It's like, as we heal ourselves, we are part of this collective frequency, right? As we change our frequency, we're sending out new information into the field collectively for all the people that are meditating, for all the people that are doing the work. That's expanding the energy in the field in the positive direction, So I'm a hopeless optimist, but I'm feeling good about this conversation, and all of the people listening, we're on the right side of history. So
I love that. There's a lot of trust and faith in that. And I absolutely agree. If you look back at the past, we are certainly living in very, very blessed times. And I think now, speaking for myself, it's a time to prepare. And I'm not preparing from any aspect of fear or worry or concern. I'm preparing for an aspect of purifying my body. Because I do believe that we're entering higher states of consciousness. And I do know that my vessel, my body, my temple must be able to hold and or assimilate these energies. So I want to just quickly ask, what are some of the top things that you're doing in your life right now to not just expand your own consciousness and live a magical life. I mean, you're a mom, you're a snowboarder, you're an activist for amazing things to help the planet. What are some of the things that you're focusing on now moving forward in your life?
Yeah, I love what you just said. It's like we have to, with this raising of the frequency, I am held to more account to like this vessel, because I'm so like, I just came off of 4 days of a headache, and talking to other people, it felt very like like massive solar flares. Like my friend tracks the Schumann resonance meter, and she was
As you
like, "This
do,
is going
right?
off the charts." Just like sending it to me. I'm like, "What does this mean? I don't know. All I know is that I'm exhausted and I have a headache for no reason."
And why are they cutting out? I mean, you go back and you look at, you follow the Schumann resonance, you understand that what's happening with the waves of energy coming into the atmosphere, but then it looks like they're cutting out parts of it. There's certainly bits of information missing. So either they're missing it or they're hiding something. It's interesting to see, but we do know there's a lot of light entering the atmosphere. I just wanted to put that in there. Back to you.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is tracking with you because there was no reason why I should have a headache for 4 days that Advil, and it pains me to take Advil. Like I'll take Advil on the third day of a headache, and headaches debilitate me. And with a 5-year-old, it's like, you have to be able to function. So I think I took Advil like the end of the second day, and it barely did anything. And I'm just like, this is external. This is not normal. And it was hormonal, not to give too much information, but it was like in line with my cycle. But that's rare to have a headache. And then there's this blue super moon, full moon. So all of that to say, I think we as human beings, these organisms, we're getting more sensitive and infiltrated with this raising of the frequency, higher energy, more light coming into the atmosphere, whatever. So we do have to be a little bit more diligent in our practices so that we can hold the space. And this may go a little too woo-woo or real, but there's a lot of people not being able to sustain this frequency, and they're choosing to leave the planet, whether it's through overdose, suicide. It's like, it's intensifying, So even we're pretty conscious and we're aware of what's going on. And like, I have to drink less alcohol, get more sleep,
Yep.
I just have to like do better so that my vessel can handle it. And it is. And I'm just like, the rebellious teenager in me is like, no, I'm still young and I can handle this. But it's like, no, I can feel the shift. So for me, all of that to say, my biggest thing is like, of course, I lean into my meditation practice, but I just have to get closer to nature. Like, I think one of our biggest issues is disconnection from nature, whether it's the cycles of sleep and light and dark. And we're on this like unsustainable pace of life to keep up with the Joneses and be successful. It's like, no, we need to go to sleep when the sun goes down, shortly thereafter. We need to rise with the sun. We need to eat seasonally, in season and local. All of that is making much more. It has a lot more. It's like, we can't not do that anymore. You know what I mean? And getting my feet into the earth, getting that early morning sun, just being in the trees. So that's my antidote right now, is like getting into nature as much as possible.
Oh, we are nature. And so when we do wear rubber soles all day, we don't get sun on our skin. We eat food-like products rather than real food. And we don't actually get to sit on the ground and breathe and meditate or journal. We are disconnected not only from our mother, but from ourselves. And I think this is extremely important to understand. Mother Nature always corrects herself. You mentioned that so beautifully, Kelly. And that means that we also have that innate intelligence to do just the same. Where are you not giving yourself permission to go out in nature and be still, to swim in the oceans, to swim in the rivers, to do whatever? This is extremely important. I think really getting reconnected again with that 7.8 hertz frequency of the earth. And when you're on the earth, that resonance will go through your beingness. This is not anything new. We know about this. So I'm really excited about this, and you've provided us with some really good insights to some very powerful tools And of course, guys, go and check out the movie Heal. And before we move on, let me just do this right now. This is for all you guys watching and listening. Pen and paper, take a note. Firstly, healwithkelly.co. Okay, that's the website, healwithkelly.co. At Instagram, it's Heal with Kelly, all in one word. That's Instagram, Heal with Kelly, all in one word. And also Kelly Gores, Gores. So go and check out Heal. Go and check out Kelly's work. Definitely jump on the podcast. I would be delighted to jump on yours and have a deep dive in whatever topic you want to go. But for now, guys,
You're coming.
there's
You're coming
amazing.
on. You're for sure
Oh,
coming
you're
on.
on.
Yeah.
Okay, it's on. Okay, I'm on it. Thank you. For now, listeners and viewers, use these resources to get inspired. Look at what in your life is not serving you anymore. Maybe put it to the side, get out in nature and see what happens. Just give it 30 days and you'll notice a big change in yourself and perhaps even a reconnection to not only nature, but also to consciousness and spirit. Kelly, I want to ask you a couple of questions before we wrap up. And I think this is one of the most important questions for me looking at my life. What do you think now if we observe ourselves and we start to tune in? You mentioned before when we change ourselves, when we take care of ourselves on an individual level, it's going to have an impact on the field. All right. So, and I remember once I asked someone asked me, what's going to happen in the world? And my answer was, if you ask that question, you may not be a leader. What do you think are some of the decisions that we can make, some of the standards maybe that we can apply in our lives to ensure that we're walking the right path into the future?
Yeah, I think it's very important now, especially with the rise of AI and the doctoring of images and just capture of governments and big political machines. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just have learned a lot. So
You're a
I
realist.
think
I get it.
I'm a realist. It's it's pretty latent at this day and age. So I think, one of Kelly Turner's, again, this is her research from 10 years ago, still applies today. Of those 9 key essentials to healing, now it's 10 with movement. One of them is tapping into your intuition. And I think the biggest thing right now is having practices so that you can tune in, you, the unique listener, that there's never been anyone like you ever in the history and never in this moment in time right now. You are a unique, beautiful person that is here to share their gifts. And you have an internal guidance system that is directly from source, your higher self, your soul, whatever you want to call it, constantly giving you guidance and truth through the interpretation of this incredible mechanism called the human body. That's why I think you said the cutest term I've ever heard with these truth bumps. I've never heard that before. We call them goosebumps on this side of the hemisphere, but truth bumps is so true. It's that is your body giving you guidance as a channel from the energy of your higher self. So first and foremost, the biggest thing that everybody can do right now is have tools and practices that connect you or help you to hear, understand, and translate the voice of your intuition and the guidance. So how do we do that? I mean, I think prayer, meditation, getting into the frequency of nature and just sitting there in silence and being. Once you're observed by nature, you become a clear channel to source. So your intuition becomes very loud in that silence and frequency of the perfection of nature. Meditation, constantly, I call it mental hygiene, which, Marianne Williamson speaks so beautifully about in the film. We shower. It's totally societally normal to shower our physical bodies off every day. It should be just as, if not more important, to shower our minds and the gunk and the residue and all the buildup we get from the stress of the day and the information we're taking on. We need mental hygiene. We need to cleanse and release all of that, buildup and energetic plaque of our thoughts and all the stuff that just kind of clutters our mind every day. in meditation, I love transcendental meditation because you use 20 minutes in the morning to set the tone and create the space so that you can deal with the day. And then 20 minutes in the afternoon/evening to let go and shower off all the gunk that you've accumulated in the day. So I just think, those practice journaling in the morning, gratitude is a frequency that, again, just changes the flow and the vitality. Like the language of the universe is like love, and the language of nature is like gratitude and awe. Nature is just in awe of itself all the time. It's in awe and just so grateful for its source, for providing everything it needs to regenerate and survive and be and thrive and just be beautiful. So if we can tap into that frequency of awe and gratitude, journal, meditate, mental hygiene, and then be in nature to tap into that higher guidance, that inner guidance from our source and our higher self. I think that's what we need to be able to navigate the rapids of the current times.
Oof. I remember that from watching Heal, the intuition part actually came in super strong. And that's been something that I've observed not only in myself, but also within my closest circle, those who are giving themselves time to be still, to meditate, to actually listen. And I mean, with our senses, a dimensional senses, more so than just the 5 or 6 if you include thought, they are the ones that are able to find answers much faster. So I love this conversation about intuition. It's as if it's a superpower innately given to us that many have forgotten or suppressed. What would happen if we would activate the true part of the intelligence of that within ourselves? And isn't it amazing that we all have the capacity to do so without paying a cent for it? Meditation is free, hiking is free, journaling is free, and so on and so forth. I love it, Kelly. Okay, sister, I've got one last question for you straight off the cuff. Are you ready?
Yep.
Let's go. So here's the question. I want you to now imagine, Kelly Noonan Gores, you're on this world stage. The entire world, every sentient being alive has gathered. They're watching, they're listening, and they're tuning in to your message. When you're ready, take a breath, take as long as you need, and do share, Kelly. What is your message to the world right now?
This is good. So my message to the world would be, we live in a world of infinite possibility. We all have unique, incredible purpose for being here at this time in history. We have unique superpowers and gifts to express. We have unique and perfect beauty in whatever form that we have shown up here in this lifetime at this time. And so much more is possible than we've been led to believe. Once we tap into the intelligence, the beauty, and the love that nature shows us, and once we can connect to source, like, we have access to infinite possibility. Like, whatever you dream, know that that dream is in you and in your consciousness, because in some possibility it's already happened. So not only you were given that dream because you were also given everything you need to see that dream realized, then go beyond that. Stretch your mind beyond that. Go, okay, that's my dream in this current consciousness. Go beyond what's even bigger than that dream. Like, stretch possibility, because so much more is possible than we can imagine. And, life is good. And like you said, in closing, life is for us, never against us. Things are not happening to us, they're happening for us. So let's fucking go. Sorry, am I allowed to cuss?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Oh, brilliant. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, truth bumps. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, again, just in case you missed it, healwithkelly.co. Instagram is healwithkelly and Kelly Gores. Special thank you, sister. It's a privilege and a pleasure to have this opportunity to chat I'm excited to get this message out to as many people as I can. Our community is going to absolutely love this. And if you haven't, ladies and gentlemen, Amazon, watch the movie Heal, grab the book Heal. Okay, read the book Heal. It's called Discover Your Unlimited Potential and Awaken the Powerful Healer Within. And check out the podcast Heal as well. Kelly, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute privilege having you on the show.
It's been amazing hanging out. Let's do it again. We'll do it on my podcast now.
Sounds awesome. Kelly Gores, everybody.